I want to do a little something different with chapter five. So, my objective with this discussion or activity is to really walk you through what I think is one of the most useful pieces of your textbook. So, starting on chapter 109 or page 109, chapter five begins. Well, there we go. Okay. Um, as you can see, I'm trying to rig everything to make it nice and get the video, but also have access to a little pad here where I can jot down some things to show you. Um, so you'll see here, and I don't know if it will show. I don't. It just looks it's all backwards. But this is chapter five. Okay. Um, so basically, the biggest thing for me about this is that you understand the foundation of speech. So the first things they present to you in chapter five is the central idea. Okay, main points. Okay, these are the main things that we will take away from the work. Let me make this a little bit bigger so it's all up in your face. So here's um, general purpose. Okay, um, you could think of a central idea as a thesis. Okay, the central idea is um, your thesis in the speech. So general purpose for the speech coming up is your to inform. So your informative speech, simply to inform. Okay, so then you might have a specific purpose. This is not necessarily taught here um, in this discussion, but I think for sake of helping you understand, topic selection based on the way that I teach the class and organize the structure of this class, your specific purpose might be something like to inform my audience about the history of single-use plastic. Okay, so that would be. Let's make this a little bit smaller as we beef up this um, instructions. So you can see that we start off with your, and let me make this smaller. It might be okay. We'll leave it like that. I think that that's a good um, a good way to do this. So you have your uh, you have your general purpose, which is to inform, your specific purpose, which is to inform my audience about the history of single use plastic. Your central idea should be spoken, right? Today, I will share with you the history of single use plastic. That's it. That's your central idea. It's the thesis. Obviously, we don't call it thesis because it's not the same thing as a thesis. Obviously, the structure of writing and the structure of speaking, there's much overlap. Um, but when we use a central idea, this is for the medium. It's specific to the medium, right? The thesis can be a little bit more convoluted. The thesis can be a little bit more argumentative. Whereas the central idea in a speech, you're straight up telling people exactly what you're doing. Okay, so for your informative speech, you might your main points might be um, development of bakelite, okay, or plastic, the introduction of bakelite. Let's just say introduction. What is that? This fun autocorrects there. Introduction of bakelite, the original plastic. Um, the invention of the plastic bottle, okay? And then say the proliferation of single-use plastic in the past half century, okay? So this is just I'm just pulling this out of my brain. It's not nothing that I ever did a research on. I'm just offering this to you. You might break these down along these lines, okay? So for instance, the way you might know something is a main point is, say you have 2 minutes worth of material on the introduction of Bakelite, okay, and you have 1.5 minutes of material on the invention of the plastic bottle, okay, and you have 2.25 minutes on the proliferation of single-use plastic. That seems appropriate. That seems like an appropriate length for each main point. But say you in here you had invention of plastic bag, okay? Plantic, what is plantic? Plastic bag, okay? And you were only going to be speaking for, 15 seconds. That's not commensurate to the rest of the speech, okay? If it's not commensurate to the rest of the speech, right, 15 seconds, it's not really a main point. You might subsume that at the end of invention of the plastic bottle. You might say something, so say historically, right? The speech is organized chronologically, and we'll talk about that as we move through the chapter a little bit here. So say you're moving through this, okay, and at the end of the plastic bottle, period, okay, so say 1940 or something like that, the single-use plastic or a machine to produce a mass quantity of plastic bags was invented. You might use that as a transition into the proliferation of single-use plastic in the past half century. However you want to do this is up to you, but the point should be commensurate. The third point that I put here, this is a bad point. This is not appropriate. So we're going to put that in red here. This is like a bad point. Bruised red. That's my favorite. Recently I saw a map of COVID spread, and they put states that were doing a bad job in bruised red. So we're going to put that in bruised red. So omit that, okay? Omit that, and maybe this becomes part of the second point. This is the last thing that you do. This is like the sub breakdown there, okay? So that is your main points. So I want you to remember this, because this is something I want you to do. Actually, I'm going to tell you about it right now. So just jot this as a note. I want you to do this very thing for your informative speech, and that will be the first thing I would like you to put in the discussion board. This is going to be what you share in the discussion board. I would just want you to take a stab at this. General purpose, self-explanatory. Specific purpose, I want you to do that. Central idea, I want you to write that. Main points, I want you to take a stab at that. You don't have to do all this time stuff that I do here, okay? But I would like you to do that. So, okay. So I want to move on to, some of the things that I think are more useful. And so on page 110, there's a list of things you might want to take into consideration when preparing your speech, but I want to move on to strategies of organization. So these main points are organized chronologically, as they should, okay? Chronologically, because it only makes sense, because everything is listed, right, in a chronological way, all right? So there's a few ways that we organize things. So there's chronological, okay? Obviously that is according to time. So if I wanted to talk about the Civil War as my subject, I might talk about the lead up to the Civil War. I might talk about the war itself, and I might talk about Reconstruction. That is in a chronological order. Then there is spatial. Okay, spatial ways of organizing would be according to space. So I might talk about Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey. Okay. Organized according to space. I might talk about, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. Did I do that right? Yeah, Mercury, Venus. I don't. You guys probably did much better in science class and remembering these things than me. Um, According to space, um, you might talk about the states leading down to Florida on your trip. Okay. Now it would not make sense, right, to discuss the planets out of order. You wouldn't go, Earth, Mars, Mercury. You wouldn't say Pluto, Mercury, Saturn, Earth, Mars, and go just bounce all over the place. You want to find something that makes sense. There is no right or wrong way. Okay, it doesn't matter if I start at Pluto and work my way in or start at Mercury and work my way out, right? But it doesn't make sense to start in the middle. Okay, does that make sense? So spatially, you want to think in terms of that. There's also other ways we might think of space, but for the time being, let's think of geographical space. Let's not get any more abstract than that. Then there's topical. So topical, I'm going to make an outline that's topical in a moment, is organized according to subjects. And obviously they should try to make sense in their order, but really they're broken down according to a topical thing. So if you don't know how to organize it, say you're discussing social movements in the 1970s. Okay, you talk about the civil rights movement, you talk about the anti-war movement, you talk about the women's movement. Those would all be based on subject, based on topic. Those would be organized via topic. That's a topical organization. You also have problem solution. Probably won't come along till you're persuasive. Self-explanatory. Okay, you could see how I mess up my words. And then you have Monroe's motivated sequence. Ask me about this. I'm not going to delve into this right now. I will say for your exam, it's something that you need to know. Okay. I will say that it is a very specific process. It's something that you need to go through to develop. There's a necessity to create visualization. It's very common in political campaigns. But I'm not going to delve into Monroe's motivated sequence because it's not something that students typically use in the class. To save you some time, to save you a moment here, I'd be happy to go over it down the line, though. So those are the ways of organization. Okay, organization schemes. There we go. Okay, so let's go back to this. What I would like you to add to this is basically tell me how you organized it. Okay, and I would like to know, why did you select this method of organization? Okay. This right here would be how you completely answer my questions up till this point. So I would like you to weigh in on that. Now, let's talk. Let's talk a little bit about ideally what I would like you to do. So let's scratch this. Let's make a brand new one here. Okay, make a brand new outline. So, persuasive speech. So my class, I don't expect you to do entirely original work. You can self-plagiarize in this class. I really want the emphasis to this. So my speeches are relatively long in this class, and I want you to put the emphasis where I think the emphasis belongs. So, general purpose. Get this back going here. General purpose, okay, for your persuasive speech. To persuade. Persuade. Specific to persuade my audience to adopt or to ban single-use plastic in their community. Okay? So this might be my specific purpose. My central idea might be today I will tell you why you should ban single-use plastic in your community and how to make it happen. Okay? Main points. Now, I want you to pay close attention here. Okay? So let's go up here. History of single-use plastic. You see what I'm doing here? I'm cheating. Okay, let's make this a little bit bigger. I wouldn't say it's cheating. Okay, I wouldn't say any of this is cheating. This is what I'm telling you you should be doing. In fact, this is what you should be doing before you start your informative speech. So bear with me here for a second. So although the persuasive speech is your final speech, okay, I would like you to do this first. If you want to. You don't have to. This is something you can do. It's something you don't have to do. So say I have the history of single-use plastic, okay? The effects of single-use plastic on the environment, okay? Effects of single-use plastic on our health. Case study of cities that banned single-use plastic. Okay? So here, if your speech, okay, so this is a 8 to 10 minute speech. And this speech is a 5 to 8 minute speech. Okay, so obviously you're going to have to condense this a little bit. But say you have 3 minutes. You want to condense some of the most important points about single-use plastic. This is 3 minutes of your speech. This is 1.5. This is 1.5. Okay, you got 6 minutes already, then you got, bam, there's your 8 minutes right here, case study, and then your introduction and conclusion, maybe accumulated 1.5 minutes altogether, okay? So that is what I would like you to do first, and you've identified this as what you really would like to spend some time learning about. So this would be your go-ahead right here. This would be your informative speech, okay? This one will be your informative speech. Then you work your way backwards, okay? You have your persuasive speech outline. You did that already. Then you go and you research for your informative speech. Then you go and you subsume some of that material into this. Then you already have some of your citations, okay? Now the remainder of the chapter, page 113, okay, pages 114 and 115 have rough outlines of the introduction and the conclusion for every speech, okay? So if you look at page 113, you have, it starts off with your attention-grabbing statement. This should be the first thing you say. You might say for a speech like this, what if I told you that, you have a pound of plastic broken down in your body at this very moment, okay? That might be my attention grabbing. That's the novel evidence that I present. Then your central idea, okay? is introduced. Then you have your statement of importance. This is, you tell your audience why they should be listening. That's what the statement of importance is. Then you have your statement of credibility. The book, recommends to do this. There basically, it just says the statement of credibility is intended to demonstrate the competence of speaker and win the trust in audience. When I was a student, I was told to do things like, I like eating bread. Today, I'm going to talk to you about my favorite bread. Okay, and it's just like it's ridiculous. Even I have to use statements of credibility because yes, I might be Dr. Lozon, but I also am not quite considered an expert at everything that I might be talking about. So, with that being said, one of the things that I do to establish credibility from the get-go is just say this is what my speech is in my central idea, and then I bust out a citation of the people who are truly the experts. Okay? That is one good way that you can, establish yourself as a credible individual, is by bringing in credible individuals into your speech as references. So keep that in mind. You might say, today I'm going to talk about, why you should ban single-use plastic and how you can make it happen. Did you know, according to the World Health Organization, there are over 1 billion tons of plastic polluting our ocean and shorelines at this very moment, or something like that, okay? You can bring in citations, show that you're credible, okay? In my speeches, that's what I do, is demonstrate my credibility from the get-go there. Then your preview of main points. Today I'm going to talk to you about the history of single-use plastic. I'm going to talk to you about your effects on the environment. I'm going to talk about the effects of single-use plastic on your health. And then I'm going to offer a couple case studies of cities that were able to implement this in their own backyards. Then you transition into your main points. I can't tell you how to organize this because your research is going to drive that. It's going to drive what these main points come together like. Then you're going to transition out into your conclusion. You're going to restate your main points. You're going to restate your central idea. Make sure you don't do that in a boring way. What I like to do when I restate my central ideas is try to add some pizzazz. Instead of saying, today I talk to you about the history of single-use plastic, okay? You might say, today I shared with you the fascinating history of single-use plastic and how it's been incorporated through our society, for the past 100 years, or something like that. It doesn't have to be exactly worded the way. It's not really a thesis, okay? It's a central idea. But you want to remind, the conclusion is the takeaway. The conclusion is where everybody who's sleeping wakes up and goes, all right, what am I going to go home and tell my friends that I listened to today in this speech, right? That is going to be your conclusion. That's what the conclusion does. It gives a nice little package for me to take away. It's a doggy bag of the speech. It's the thing where I give, a little tidbit. So when I restate my central idea, or when I restate my main points, I might want to offer one little highlight per main point. I might say, today we talked about the invention of Bakelite and how a, modest scientist from, Dover, Illinois, blah blah blah. I also shared the development of the first plastic bottle, which led the way to blah blah blah. Right? You're going to just remind them briefly, just brief reminders, one sentence. When you recap your main points, just offer one sentence that just reminds them, okay, of what they just listened to. And finally, you're going to offer a conclusive statement. So, I typically draw, I don't really have drawing implements here. Oh man, I should have thought about drawing implements. Let me see, do I have a drawing, range, insert, line. Oh man, do I have a drawing thing? Probably have a drawing thing somewhere. So just imagine a triangle, okay, that's upside down. Just imagine, okay. Imagine you got this V here. Okay, we're gonna make this big. How big? Well, let's see. Maybe 59. Okay, so just imagine this. We need it bigger. We need it like 144 point. Okay. So imagine this right here. Okay. This is your whole argument up till this point. You're going through your main points. You start with your introduction, your central idea, main point 1, main point 2, main point 3. Your conclusive statement or your restatement of your central idea is, say we're back in the persuasive speech. Today I shared with you, why I think you should ban single-use plastic and, some neat ways to make that happen through some, clever, citizen participation or something like that. I always say that a conclusive statement should be unifying. Okay, so you might not agree with what I'm saying, but at this very end, this very last thing that you say, if you can find a way to unite your audience, right? And so instead of ending your speech with, that's why we're going to send those liberals packing, get the hell out of here, right? So instead of doing something like that, okay? Instead of concluding with something that's divisive, right? Speak to the members of your audience in your conclusive statement that don't agree with you. Leave a good taste in their mouth. So what I would do in a speech like this is say you guys don't agree that we should ban single-use plastic. Well, what about people who take the bus? They don't have, space to carry their tote bags and all that stupid stuff that people with cars have, right? You could say in the conclusive statement, you might not agree with me that we should ban single-use plastic, but I think we all can agree that by making some small changes in our daily consumption, we can help reduce this growing global problem that will plague our children for generations and generations. Thank you very much. Have a great day. And that's it. You don't have to divide. You can just simply say, you can address the elephant in the room. You can say, some of you might not agree with me. And then meditate on where there might be a point of agreement. And that's it. That's a conclusive statement. Okay, so that's chapter 5. Chapter 5 is great. Just follow it. It will help you make your speech. And it will be like you're, somebody, sitting there on your shoulder and telling you how to do the speech, step by step by step. Okay? Good. Oh, one last thing. Make sure you do this for your informative speech. Okay? That's it. Just this stuff. Okay? General purpose, specific purpose, central idea, main points. List out your main points. Tell me how you're organizing it and why did you select this method of organization. That is your discussion board activity. Thank you.